Hello, today I'm going to show you how to run my implementation of the Data Scientist Toolbox. So to begin, after you've pulled my files, you need to run docker compose build, which should build the necessary image and download the necessary dependencies. Then, to actually start the application, we run docker compose up. This should bring up all of the images and then also bring up our toolkit. So here we can see our first application. We click this button, RStudio, which brings us to RStudio, which we can log into, run RStudio. Next we see Spider. Spider requires a password to connect through VNC, which can be found over here. This password is randomly generated every time the image is run. Plug that in. Connected. Come down here. Go to programming. We have spiders. From here we can add to our spider file. Next up is my Git implementation, which I did using Git bucket. Here we see we are on Git bucket. You can sign in if you need to. Next is Jupyter Notebook. Here we can create a new Python file, for example. Try it out. Orange is unfortunately not implemented at the time, but we can also go to Visual Studio, connect. Potentials are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And open up Visual Studio. And you can do whatever you need to do here. Hadoop at the time is also unimplemented, but we can also open Spark. Spark is running inside of a separate Jupyter Notebook. We can check that Spark is imported and usable by doing import PySpark. Yes. From Spark. Context. Oops. Sorry, ran that out of order. From PySpark. Import Spark context. This runs fine, so we have Spark in here, and you can run whatever code you would like to. Tableau is unimplemented as well, as is Sonar Cloud. TensorFlow, however, brings us to another Jupyter Notebook with TensorFlow implemented. For this application, we need to grab the token that is generated in the command prompt, plug that token in. It'll bring us to a Jupyter Notebook with TensorFlow. In addition, it also has some TensorFlow tutorials. And then finally, we have Markdown. Click the button. Can test this out. There we go. So after you are finished using the Data Scientist Toolkit, you can close the application by running Docker Compose down. This should slowly bring the application down. And then that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Hello, I'm now going to show you a quick code walkthrough of my application for the Data Scientist Toolkit. So to start, we have a Python application. It's going to use tkinter for the GUI, and then also we are going to need to import web browsers. It'll be important for accessing containers from within the GUI. So here we see a bunch of functions that allow web browser to open up new instances of the container or an existing instance of the container, and then it is doing that using Docker internal and the the port that was specified in the command or in the Docker Compose YML. And then down here we actually set up the frame and all of the buttons that are going to be used. So we can see each button has the text on it, and then it's connected to a specific open command or open function. And then, yeah, so each one gets a button. Some buttons, unfortunately, are only implemented for show. They do not actually connect to a specific function, or they do not connect to their own container. And then we can see in Docker Compose YML, we have our services. This is called web. It's an artifact of when I started working. But we build it. We have our environment. This is the display variable. Right now, this is currently my IP, but that would need to be changed to your IP to work with your X server. And then we just have a bunch of different images that are imported and built. Each have their own ports. I've turned logging to none for a few of them because the log information is unimportant, and some of them do have log information that is important. For example, the spider one will output a token that you'll need, or a password that you'll need in order to log in. Yeah, so if we continue down with this, these are all implemented relatively the same. There's nothing special about any specific one of them. And then coming over to here, we have the Docker file. We're running on Ubuntu. It imports, or it updates and installs Python 3, Python 3 TK, which we use for the frame, and then Firefox, which is going to be used to open up the containers. And then we copy the work directory, or we copy the directory that the project is in, and then set that to our work directory. These would need to be changed to wherever you have the files stored. And then we start the application. So that's all. Thank you for watching.